Good evening, John, and thank you for participating to this event, to this conference about the future of the telecommunication. Before talking about the future, may we have your comments about the present situation we have in Europe in this sector? As you know, we are in recession for now more than 2 years, and it's very difficult, and there is a very strange gap between the situation you enjoy here in the United States and what we have in Europe. How do you see the situation here in Europe?
Yes, thank you, Yves. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I will, of course, comment on the situation in Europe. Without question, the macroeconomic conditions that companies, our clients, are facing there are very difficult. Globally, the last 5-6 years have been very challenging, but of course different situations in different parts of the world, and none more troubling than the situation in Europe. As you know, as companies come through a difficult economic time, the first thing is to find ways to reduce cost in what I think of as in a linear fashion, right? So how do I take down my operating expenses? How can I slash costs where I can do it? What we see now is, in an extended period of malaise, if you will, that companies are needing to find ways to reinvent themselves, needing to find ways to rethink how they go to market, what markets they pursue, deeper structural changes, deeper process changes in their business. And in fact, in some cases for Verizon, that actually can create a level of opportunity. So I think we go in recognizing this is pressure that our clients are feeling, and our job is to help them to rethink the way they go to market and perhaps to unlock new value for them. You know, I think 2020, it's a long time from now. In our business, it seems like an eternity, but it'll be here before we know it. And without question, the seeds of our business structures and the way we go to market are being sown right now. We see fundamental changes in the ecosystem that serves, for example, large enterprise customers, small and medium business, and of course the consumerization of IT. And all of these factors, I think, will play a part in answering your question. My guess is that the distinctions between fixed and mobile will still be present, but perhaps less significant than they are today. The notion of providing the most efficient and effective delivery of applications to users wherever they might be touches many parts of the infrastructure. So it begins with strong IP backbone network capabilities and access networks all the way out to the customer. But it goes beyond this, of course, as we think about computing platforms and how will they evolve from a place today where a substantial majority of computing is done in a premise-based fashion to, of course, the evolution of cloud computing and what that means in the context of your question. So I would suggest that the very tightly delineated lines between fixed and mobile, consumer and business, cable and telecom become far less important. And the ability to provision capabilities, solutions, applications to any person wherever they might be on any device is really what is likely to be occurring at that point in time. You know, there are core competencies that different players in this ecosystem bring to the game. If you are Apple or Google, you do operating systems and software integration, in the case of Apple, hardware integration exceedingly well. And you create demand for wireless, in this case, wireless network capacity. But to provide wide area wireless networking at a very high quality is its own competency. And what we see today is that ultimately for us in our wireless business, the end customer looks back to Verizon to ensure that we've delivered a service that is of great value to them. So it comes from the beginning point of distribution, that is to say getting the product to them, the ability to manage with them their wireless requirements across a variety of platforms, whether they be in the current context, smartphone, standard phone, tablet computing, And we now move into a new space, which has been referred to, of course, as connected solutions, the Internet of Things. We are just beginning to see incredibly explosive growth in this period. So in my view, the wireless operator in this context is something of an integrator and provides for the end customer the ability to effortlessly add and delete these different devices to their overall network in a manner that is for especially a consumer audience, simple, easy, affordable, all of these dimensions. As I think about where we'll be in 2020, our vision for Verizon, our expectation is that we are enabling companies to leverage these fantastic technologies and these technology shifts by integrating the assets. So if I look at my IP backbone network, my wireless network, data center and cloud computing capabilities, managed security capabilities, and mobility, individually these are important. But as we weave them together to create a platform approach to solutioning to the marketplace, it allows us, Verizon, to deliver end-to-end solutions very rapidly. But as importantly, it allows other companies to leverage our assets as well. And this is critical because we recognize that we have many assets, but not sufficient to cover the whole of the market's requirements. And so having an incredibly strong and vibrant partner development community utilizing our assets to deliver their innovation to the market to serve our clients and theirs is a very, very important point. So when I describe our vision for 2020, if you will, this notion that we've fused the assets together and are enabling them in an open way to be leveraged by others and ourselves to bring those solutions to bear, that's really how we see ourselves playing. This is a very important technology shift, if you will. It's an important moment in the evolution of fundamental network architecture. And we are excited about it. We look at SDN, or software-defined networking, as enabling a number of things. You said flexibility, and I think that's an important word to use here. The ability to utilize the physical assets more efficiently, to be able to configure networks in a more efficient and effective way. It adds speed, it lowers capital costs, and as important, it enables us to create services for our partners, external partners, so that they might leverage the network in new and different ways. I've heard and seen reports of this idea that software-defined networking in some way is a significant threat to global IP network operators. We don't see it quite the same way. Look, there's risk in every turn of technology, as you know very well. But what we see is opportunity here. And the ability for us, we will still control the fundamental elements of our network, but the ability for us to open and expose capabilities in the network that, used in combination with the compute resources, the storage capabilities, database as a service, our data analytics engines, all of these physical infrastructure elements, if I can open them and put them to use so I can expose them to a third party for their innovation, that actually creates tremendous value for me, for my partner, and obviously most importantly for our clients. It's a very healthy ecosystem. I think the idea of competition, making business stronger, opening new markets, enabling faster adoption of services are all coming true very definitely in this space right before our eyes. You know, Amazon began offering its version of the public cloud in 2006. So 7 years ago, and in many respects are catalyzing a market that will become incredibly large. We're in the very earliest stages of this, and so you see other investment happening. Just recently, IBM announcing its intentions to acquire SoftLayer is another validation of the importance of this space, the evolution of cloud computing. You mentioned Google and its fiber to the home project that it's run in a few cities in the United States. You know, our expectation is not that Google will wire all of America, but it is a validation of a strategy that we, Verizon, put in play back 6 years ago with our Fios, our fiber optic consumer services that we now have covering roughly 20 million homes in the United States. Each of us will find our way. I think what's important for every company that participates in this ecosystem is you must have a reason to be. And the idea that you have an area of significant competency and an area that is of strategic value to you and to your potential customer is very important. Now, there are many overlaps and there are many adjacencies, and companies will seek to expand their presence. But of course, if there's not a core capability to create services that are of value to customers, then those things often will wither away. We see this, as a continuous point of evolution here, and my expectation is that that doesn't change. Maybe I can come at it from a different angle. Verizon can and will, and does today, participate in the software layer. So we provide certain applications directly to our end customer, and best described by our Hughes telematics business. So the connected car solution, for example, for Mercedes-Benz in the United States is provided by Verizon Telematics. And so we do things in usage-based insurance, for example, that are discrete and specific applications. And we'll look to grow in that space. You'll see Verizon participate in application software delivery, particularly as relates to connected solutions, machine to machine. That said, we recognize that Verizon is not a software company. We are not a SaaS player. We will have some level of interest in very specific areas, participating in the business. But for me, the filter is, if there's not something about my fundamental technologies and competencies that provides a sustainable market position, a differentiated and sustainable market position, I shouldn't play there. And so we'll walk into certain corners of the software space, but we won't reinvent ourselves to be considered a software player. My core is still my core. And I think the same thing can be said of some of our other competitors, that they'll move into certain spaces for their own reasons, but it doesn't necessarily redefine their essential mission. It's hard to say. We are obviously strong proponents of a free market economy. And so there's obviously a valuable role for governments to set the rules, if you will, to create a construct in which competition flourishes and innovation flourishes. For me, it would be difficult to suggest precisely how many competitors will be there. But what I think is so important in all of these spaces is that innovation is fueled by that competition. To the extent we see in our wireless business, significant innovation and significant competition. And competition, I think, is being redefined. Back to your original point about the important distinction between telco and cable and consumer and business. These lines are becoming increasingly blurred. And so who competes for a particular piece of the value chain, if you will, I think will look very different in 2020 than it does today. But what I am quite certain of is, because the vitality of these markets, that there will be great innovation, great investment, and strong competition in these spaces. And I think that's very important for us and obviously for the marketplace.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't say that we will discuss about this in 2020, but maybe in the next 3 years.
Very good. Perfect. Thank you, Yves. It's very nice to be with you.